Hey, and welcome to the Vergecast for the week of May 28th. 2012. I'm Josh Topolsky.
I'm Nilay Patel.
I'm Ross Miller. Actually scared by the large floating head behind me.
Yeah, this is weird.
I don't know what
I can downsize the head.
You can scale it by moving it backwards.
Function.
This is like
Which
Hollywood
size looks
style
appropriate
effects.
to you?
Go back. There, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Go back farther. Keep going.
I just like
Keep
doing
going.
this. I'm just going to keep doing this.
Wow, that's not even more creepy. It's good.
Does it seem like I'm moving it, or does it seem like it's just moving by itself?
Yeah, it seems like you're in a chair that's rolling back and forth.
Well, I wish I was, but I was actually moving the laptop.
I got you.
I look really like polarized, like green and blue, don't I?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Where are you? You tell the people where you are.
I am in Beverly Hills right
Yeah.
now. I'm in Los
90210.
Angeles. That's right. Shannon Doherty is on her way over here. We're going to go to the Peach Pit. We're going to the Peach Pit together.
You're in the Peach Pit after dark.
Dylan. Yeah, Dylan and I was going to say Ian Ziering. I'm just interchangeably like character names and
No, it's
actual
true.
names.
No, it's absolutely. That's how it worked. Who is the blonde one?
There are two blondes.
Kelly.
There's Jenny Garth.
Yeah, Jenny
and
Garth.
That's Jenny Garth.
Yeah.
And then there was also Tori Spelling played the
yeah,
character. His name I can't
Am
remember.
I okay to admit this is before my time? I never saw the original 90210.
You're really missing out on
I know.
nothing.
It's-
Although
No, it's the original 90210 is actually really amazing, and everybody should watch it. Anyhow, this is the Vergecast where we discuss the week in technology, culture, and in
early
90210,
90s television.
90s TV and 80s movies. But it's been a very eventful week for us. We have a very eventful week coming next week, which is the week of E3.
And Computex.
The week after that is and Computex, and then the week after that is WWDC, and then we get a break, but we go to Nilay's wedding for that.
Yeah.
And then we back out for Google I/O. June is crazy. It's the craziest month that we've seen so
you
far.
had to get married in
I just
June.
figured I'd put it right in the middle.
Because
I was assuming that like Apple would screw me over.
You really should have waited. Can you put it off a little bit longer?
July might be nice.
Do you want to know the real story about how my wedding was scheduled? Becky's dad is a farmer. He's a corn farmer. He owns 5,000 acres of corn. And we had to schedule our wedding around, we couldn't get married in the spring because he was planting the corn.
Is this what the Farmer's Almanac
And we
told
couldn't
you?
get married in the fall. We had to look at the Farmer's Almanac, and he told us when the harvest would begin. This was a dead true story. Like, the whole family is farmers.
So the harvest
in
begins
Illinois.
after Google I/O.
Yeah, something like that.
Well.
Google also plans it around the Farmer's Almanac.
So he was saying that
It was a very strange conversation.
And you wonder why they didn't do Android corn.
Yeah, they didn't even
And
have to
he was saying that he was saying that they had to harvest, and that would have been a
he wouldn't.
Conflict.
The family couldn't come if they had to. By the way, we have to do a thing on their tractor. Their tractor is basically a robot. Every time I go to the farm, I wait for it to transform because it's like enormous. It drives itself. It's crazy. This is completely irrelevant.
Can we get Billy out there? I mean, he'll
Let's
love
talk-
to shoot this.
let's talk
Sorry,
about-
tech.
Let's talk about the week in technology. I have to say, by the way, very disorienting to be. Why is somebody calling my room?
Wow, I bet I know who that is.
What is?
We're gonna watch you get offed on this stream.
Hello.
You realize you're
Just
gonna
this
die
win-
now.
Let's go shut this window. It's open, and I'm worried that
Crosshairs,
a man with a gun.
laser sight.
appear.
Bullets go through
Anyhow.
windows. Let's talk about why we were afraid for Josh's life. You wanna
About
just
news.
talk about it, Josh? What happened to you?
Let's get away. Yeah. So the D conference was this week, which is if you don't know, the guys from All Things D hold this big technology conference, which is it's mostly like billionaires, it's titans of industry, and Aaron Sorkin was there this year, and you had Larry Ellison, and all these people come up and they do interviews with Walt Mossberg and Kara Swisher from All Things D, and we go and cover it. Tim Cook was there, the CEO of Apple.
Yeah.
It was good. There's a ton of stuff that comes out of it. It's not like hard-hitting news, but it's like some really interesting stories. And anyhow, on the night before their last day, the penultimate day, they ended the day with a sit down with a guy named Ari Emanuel, who a lot of people I think probably in our world don't know that well, but he is he's the guy who the character of Ari Gold on Entourage is based on. He's a very powerful Hollywood agent. His brother is Rahm Emanuel, who's the mayor of Chicago and was the chief of staff when Obama took office. Now Now someone else is calling me. I'm really popular, and he's just he's a powerful guy in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he sat down with Walt and Kara to talk about the changing landscape of media and entertainment thanks to technology, and very nervous here, very nervous. And so he talked a lot during so he was a supporter of SOPA.
Yep.
He seemed very agitated that SOPA had been shot down. He seemed very dismissive of the technology industry's efforts in piracy, because he's very worried about piracy, which of course he would be. And so he said, look, Verizon, AT&T, and Google have to do something about this. They have to stop people from getting to these pirated pieces of content. And I think I don't think that's the way to fix the problem. I don't think you tell Google to block a link or Verizon to block a link somewhere and you fix the problem of piracy. And that was essentially the gist of SOPA in many ways, was it not, Nilay? We could.
It was beyond Google. I mean, it was at the ISP level. So it was at the Verizon, AT&T, Comcast level, where you say, this site in Russia, this server in Russia hosts pirated movies, take it off the internet. For people in the United States.
Stop access that.
Yeah.
Well,
no, it was.
So
sure. Be close enough. It was take it off the DNS. I mean, right?
Same.
This Skype lag, by the way, is killing us right now.
It just means he can't yell as much.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying this.
Sure. Anyway, keep going.
So I thought that the idea that it was Verizon, AT&T, or Google's job, and I think everybody agrees to solve this problem is really short-sighted. And I got up and I began to ask a question, and I started with an analogy, which was, you're saying somebody robbed my house, and they drove down a road to get there, so we got to do something about this road, And I think the problem is much more nuanced than that. And he didn't like my analogy, and he started basically like screaming at me that my question was stupid. And we had a little bit of back and forth. He called me. It's
okay. You're with friends.
No. I mean, he said I was a fucking idiot.
Twice, I think.
Yeah.
Twice is what I hear. Anyhow, but so I didn't get to make the point. We didn't have the conversation. He shouted me down, and he was on stage, and I was on the floor at a mic that had been turned off at some point, because that's what they do after you ask a question. Joanna will tell you all about it. And so I went back to my seat, and then and afterwards, by the way, the audience was scared of him. Here's what I think: Walt and Kara were scared of Ari. I think the audience was largely scared of him because he's a very intimidating guy. But afterwards, everybody I talked to there was like, I'm so mad. Like, you should have finished your question. You're so right. He's wrong about what he's thinking. Everybody was very supportive, which I took as a great sign. Yeah. And I stewed on it for a day, and I was thinking about it. I forgot. He ended the conversation with we had finished our argument, because I was actually yelling at him without him, which you can't hear in the video, but I'm actually yelling back and forth with him. And then he ended the argument with he asked, "Where do you work?" Yeah. As if he was going to come down and get me fired.
He asked me to fire you.
Or so whatever. I don't know what he does.
Yeah.
But in that
he's going to take us off the internet. He's going to call Google.
But so I wrote this thing today, and I said, "Here's where I work." I said, "Here's the problem. This is why you didn't want to hear what I had to say, and this is the problem with I think at least part of the problem with the movie industry, and you've got to get smart about what's happening. You don't just copyright. He compared copyright infringement to child pornography, and they're not the same thing. And everybody agrees they're not the same thing. And stopping them has to be handled differently. And it's a much more nuanced, much more complicated affair. And people from Google said the exact same thing the next day. Anyhow, so I wrote this thing about it, and I said, that's the case. It's a lot more complicated than you make it out to be. Your method, the SOPA method, was not the right way. And to continue to endorse that is very foolish. And and these are the things that I think, I said at the end of my article, and I'll continue to say it, the entertainment industry doesn't want their industry to change. It has to change. I believe the model has to change to keep moving forward. I don't think that we can sustain the same exact model in perpetuity. Our entire relationship with entertainment, with movies, with TV has changed. And if they don't recognize it and adapt to it, they're going to continue to have piracy. And you know what? Even if they do adapt to it, they're going to continue to have piracy because that's the world. Everybody steals. Mm-hmm. not everybody, but in every facet there is theft, right? In every facet of our society. So, but you can diminish that if you change your model and adapt to what people want, which they haven't done and they don't know how to do.
Well, they've done to an extent. So, you have to give credit to like Hulu, to Netflix, which
Netflix, Hulu is them.
Hulu is them. Sorry,
they try to choke off Hulu wherever they can,
and it's ridiculous.
They hate Netflix.
It's a step. It's more a step than RIAA did at this point in their, I want to say downfall or demise, their transition.
Sure.
I think what's interesting is Daniel Ek and Sean Parker from Spotify were on the day before, the same day, and they said something really interesting. They said, so first off, the music industry didn't just bounce back from what happened. Okay, what happened was their model had to change, and what they discovered in the new model, is that it wasn't as profitable for music labels as it was previously. They're not making the same kind of money. Some have gone out of business. Some have merged. And that's the new world, like things change. It's the same with publishing. Magazines and newspapers used to rule the roost. They controlled every part of that process. New media came along and it changed everything. And now some of that is falling apart and changing, and it will be changed forever. It doesn't go back. You don't go back to the way it was. And the thing that you have to realize is, and Nilay and I talked about this, and Tech Dirt actually wrote something that I thought was pretty smart on it, but the model has to change, and that model may be really different than your old model, and it may not be as profitable. But I don't think they're being smart or being proactive about how to change it, and I think that's where they're like the fix is going to come in for them.
Right.
That's where they're going to be able to fix.
So you wrote the piece, and then Ari commented in the piece,
yep.
And then he wrote a letter to All Things D.
Yeah. Okay. So he wrote a letter to All Things D in Google, and he basically said, I think I will agree with you, SOPA was bad, and we need to all figure this out together, and I want to sit down with you whenever, wherever. And then he also he left a comment on our piece and reached out, and I reached back out. And
your fingers gently touched.
Yeah. You're looking a little nervous.
And we're going to talk. We're going to talk.
The window's still open. He doesn't know. At any moment, he could be attacked.
We'll
I think that we'll talk.
See the red dot right there.
Yeah. You're dropping out on us.
Talk to Google.
You're being SOPA'd a little bit.
Yes. Maybe.
I think we're going to talk, and he's going to talk to Google and other people, and people are going to, hopefully he'll get something. He's one man, but he's a powerful man. Maybe he can get something. Get people thinking about this the right way. Can you hear me right now, or am I just like?
We can hear you.
You're good.
Digital noise.
Well, you're both.
Okay.
But you're very intelligent sounding digital noise. So here's what I think is really interesting about this. There's a lot of things I think that is interesting about it. But Google's chief copyright counsel, a year or two ago, wrote a book called Moral Panics in the Copyright Wars. That was the title. And he said, basically the thesis of the book is every time technology changes, copyright law is affected. The copyright industries, the content industries freak out, and they cast the technological change as a moral dilemma, right? So when tapes came out, they said kids are going to do drugs, basically.
Right.
And what's funny, so that's the big thesis of the book. It's a great book. Everybody should read it. It's very accessible. But the very first chapter of the book is about the danger of metaphor when you're discussing copyright law, because you literally get to say, well, no, it's true, because winning a legal argument with metaphor is it's like kissing your sister. You can make any metaphor work any way you want, but you've accomplished nothing.
Wait. How is this kissing?
Well,
your
no,
sister?
Not yours. I mean the child pornography argument, right?
This
argument
that
you're
right on.
Well, no, the argument that you're blowing up the road, whatever. Maybe the internet is a road. Maybe it's not. It's not. It isn't that thing.
I still don't get the whole kissing your sister thing.
Because you haven't won anything. You haven't accomplished a goal. You've just done something kind of gross.
It's very weird.
Something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening, but you're like,
metaphor.
I don't know. No, it is. It's not.
Okay.
It's like a tie. Anyway.
Go ahead.
No, it's you can say copyright infringement is like child pornography and stop it, but you're missing the nuance. And the critical nuance is all child pornography is bad. So you can develop an algorithm that can identify this thing. You say blunt force, go away.
Right.
You cannot, and this was Mike Mazzik's point on Tech Dirt, you cannot do that with copyright infringement. You can't say this is fair use and have a computer decide, because it takes courts years of efforts to draw the boundaries of fair use. And on top of it, it's like a core free speech issue, right? If you start saying you can copy this much, you can comment on this piece of a news article, you can take this much of a video to copy into a remix, you're making decisions about free speech.
Right.
And so you don't want, and the thing about the internet that's really powerful and really different, and which ultimately makes every metaphor and every analogy fall apart, is that the internet is the first time we've had a public commons where you can technologically enforce the law. So I can tell you that there's a law against, driving over 55 miles an hour, but you can still go faster than that. Right. On the internet, I can shut your computer down.
Right.
I can say you cannot do this. And that sort of restriction on liberty is, if I started selling cars that were rate limited at 55 miles an hour, people would freak out. But that is a conversation we're having about the internet all the time.
No, those are the two. I think there's two sides of this that are going to need to be considered to really make it anything change. The first side is the content creators, and by the way, we're content creators, so I'm very much on the side of content creators. Okay, the content creators will have to understand that you can't just paint with this huge brush to identify, say, this is copyright infringement. You can't just make these like big changes and make snap decisions. What is going on here?
Ari, really
why am I being called? Why am I being called? Hold on. Hello? Yes.
This is he.
Yes. Yes. No, not right now. That's fine. Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Is that your champagne?
Housekeeping. They wanted to know if I needed this room to get clean because I had the privacy sign on. Anyway, very important. Very good stuff. This is what happens when you're traveling. Two things is you've got the way we identify what is copyright infringement has to be as nuanced as is required, because if it's not, you're tempting fate. I mean, you really are screwing with something that should not be screwed with, which is how the internet functions. Which is how people get information on the internet. I'm not a bleeding heart like hippie here. It's important. It's really important. It's the thing that allows us to do all of the new things, all of the amazing things that we are doing, the things that will become like the new industry in America. If we screw up the internet, we're really done for.
Yeah.
So the other side of it is the model has to change. The model has to be, you have to accept that people are stealing your shit for a reason. And some people will continue to steal, but there are a lot of people who steal out of desperation or frustration or laziness. And if you give them a better option, I mean, let's put it this way. Nilay, you went to get a torrent, Snow White and the Huntsman, right?
Yeah.
You can download it today.
Yeah.
Today.
Wait, by the way, let's just clarify.
This is hypothetical.
We just wanted to see if I could do it. I wasn't like, I got to watch Snow White and the Huntsman right now.
No.
We went to find it. We found it instantly. Yeah.
So, sorry, very thirsty. The thing is, if you truly want to see Snow White and the Huntsman, okay, I would argue there are a lot of people who don't want to go to a theater, who don't like the experience. They think it costs too much money. They find it inconvenient, and they've got a killer TV and a killer sound system at home, and their movie watching experience is as good as it is in their minds as it would be at a theater, and they want to watch it at home. Now, if it were me, like if I could watch Snow White and the Huntsman tonight, if Laura and I could stream it, I'd pay $25 for that. Okay, I would. And I'd pay $25 for every movie that came out that I don't go to see in the theater, that I want to see, but I'm not going to go to a theater to see. Yeah. And just something like that, if they did that day of release, I mean, maybe it would change the model of theaters. And you know what? Maybe the model of theaters has to change. There's no sacred cows. It's like we have to be able to decide that to move forward. And if these guys don't want to move forward, they're going to get crushed under the wheel of innovation.
What's the example I want to use?
Well, can I push back, Ross? What do you think of your example?
Yes.
Fine.
All right. Well, that's great, but you can charge $25 for you and Laura to watch a movie, and you get around the price of a movie ticket each. But there's nothing stopping you from inviting 50 people over to your house, and that's a real hit to revenue. People work at movie theaters. A lot of people worked on this movie. I mean,
I don't believe that's common. It's
not going to be a common thing.
I don't believe that's going to be common.
But 4 people, 5 people. That would be very common. I would invite people over
The
to
model
watch
has
the
to
movie.
change. I get that. But that's like, hey, you know what? The newspapers wanted to be the only place where you could get your news from. It didn't happen.
No,
Their model
I'm saying
changed.
the resistance, but the resistance to that
here.
is if you start saying we're going to take away guaranteed revenue and I don't know the answer. I'm just telling you that I understand the resistance. A lot of people work on those movies. They got to all get paid, you know?
I understand that. It's possible that the financials of that model will have to change. That's what I'm saying. And the hard pill to swallow is you can fight it and it'll happen, or you can embrace it and try to ride the wave and find something in there that is valuable to you. Like, I just don't think what you're saying is let's try to not change for as long as possible, even if the public demands it or behavior demands it. No, I don't think you're saying that, but that's what that person is saying. Isn't ready to try to find new ways to address the issue. You know, like that's the thing that is going to be the toughest for these guys to understand. I mean, what this is what I was getting back to about the Spotify thing is basically what Sean Parker and Daniel Ek were saying was people who would pay for music definitely began paying for music on iTunes, and there's a pretty good amount of people who will do that, and that has helped the music industry sustain itself. But there's an age group, 12 to 20, that still pirate music. And their model is trying to serve those people. So you pay $10 a month and stream, and somebody's getting paid versus not getting paid at all. And the music industry didn't recover from. It didn't go back. It wasn't up here and then it went down here, and then once iTunes happened, it went back up.
Yeah.
It changed. It was fundamentally disrupted and altered by technology, and that is probably what will happen in the movie and TV industry. You know, but that works both ways. There are disruptions in how we produce movies and TV. There are disruptions in how you distribute movies and TV. And those disruptions work to the advantage of these people, to these studios, if they understand how to use them and harness them. And that's what needs to happen.
You know what the key, critical, terrifying difference is that the music companies weren't owned by Comcast in Time Warner, right? I mean, these deep partnerships with the pipes, right? The cable industry owns the content companies in a lot of really meaningful ways,
right?
And that means Comcast wants to do things like charge Netflix for access to its network, and they're gonna do it. Right. AT&T wants to have deep partnerships with its network partners and say, we're not gonna let Netflix run over our pipes, and they're gonna do it, and they're doing these caps.
Well, the FCC, I mean, at some point, the FCC has to step in and regulate a free and open internet for everybody. And if they don't do that, then our society is screwed. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, if you put this, and look, if it's happening, and I'm sure it is, I'm sure you're right, and we know it is, we've reported on it. At some point, it has to be regulated. Somebody has to step in and say, this is not the way you're going to do it. If our government wants to let Comcast run the internet for America, then we're screwed. You know, and believe me, pirating will look like child's play compared to what comes after, you know, a really restricted internet. That's what I think.
Yeah, right. Because people will set up their own networks with even fewer regulation and fewer, like less oversight.
Oh, let's talk about when people can set up, you know, mesh networks that are really effective amongst a large group of people that you literally you need like an EMP to shut it down. Seriously, what would you do? How do you shut down somebody's private mesh network? I mean, you're talking about a whole different, you know, a frontier that we probably don't want to go into. But I'm just saying we're not there yet, right? I mean, there is some middle ground. And by the way, I don't think we're going to get there because of Hollywood. I really don't. I mean, they're important. They're very important. But there are a lot of other big, important businesses in the world, you know? Larry Ellison runs a big, important business.
Yeah.
Tim Cook runs a big, important business. You know, those guys.
Tim Cook, he can run around and buy all of Hollywood, right? I mean,
he literally could. I mean, we know that financially speaking, that he could if he wanted to.
Right.
I'm just saying, I don't think it has to get to that. I think it could get somewhere better, and people would say, "Yeah, I like this," you know. But there's going to be hits on both sides, and if you don't take the hits, then, you know, you can't. You're going to be victimized if you're not willing to adapt. I said it in my post. I said adapt or die. And I really believe that. I really believe that adapt or die is the one thought you should have when you're doing anything. When you're in life or in business, is I'm not going to quote Ballmer, but he is right in the sense that like you move forward or you die. I think it's more specifically, it's you adapt or you die, you change or you die. And I don't see anywhere where people just kept doing the same thing. Look, Coca-Cola has had to change the way it does its business. Their formula may be the same, but they've definitely changed the way they do business. And you can be sure they'll continue to do that. The automakers have done that, and they'll continue to do it. And, the movie industry will do it. And they'll have to. So that's it. I'm done.
I mean, are you going to be the new Republican nominee for president or what? I mean, do it.
I hope so.
I
am. I already said I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about Obama's birth certificate. So
okay, so let's talk about some other stuff at D.
Let's talk about some other.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of other news. Specific, I think Tim Cook, a lot of iPhone rumors this week. I think Cook said a bunch of stuff. I have a lot of thoughts on the TV situation. But first, let's hear what you got away from Tim Cook. You took away. Got away? I don't know what I'm talking about.
I got away. I stole some stuff from him. I pirated his content. Tim Cook, I thought, was really affable, funny, obviously super smart. But I didn't get a good sense of anything about what he'll do. There were little tidbits of things that he'll do, like, and MG Siegler wrote something today about Facebook integration coming to iOS, which, he kind of said, stay tuned. We think we can do more. He'd already said that before. Walton Kara asked him about why Microsoft's idea of a convertible or, some kind of hybrid of a laptop and a tablet doesn't work. And I felt like he kind of stumbled on the answer in it. He didn't really have a great answer. He basically ended up with, well, it won't look as cool. And actually I thought that was he didn't really fully explain why they couldn't do something that was half iPad, half, laptop. And I think they probably could if they wanted to, and it would be great. What I walked away with just overall was I think he's a really interesting, smart guy, but I don't have an idea of what his vision or what his passions are like at Apple. I don't have an idea of what his vision for Apple is, and I don't have an idea of what his passions are. He seems interested in a lot of stuff. He loves the company, obviously, but it wasn't like, when the last time Jobs was at D, he was angry. There were things he was angry about. There were things that he was really excited about, and he talked about them in a way that was very unguarded. I thought he actually was really expressive about that stuff. And Tim was I think he was very guarded. He was very funny and very open, but in a guarded way. And so, but there were things he talked about that he made some comments about fragmentation in regards to screen resolution on the iPhone that I thought was interesting, since there's been a lot of talk about the resolution changing. He specifically said we have basically one resolution, one screen size. I forget the exact quote, but it was fairly direct. And then the Facebook stuff, Joanna Stern asked him a question about ping. He basically said, maybe we'll kill ping. We don't know. Right. I asked him about gaming in the living room specifically, and he didn't say we're not interested in that. He actually said that might be interesting, or I'd be interested in that, or something like, he said we're in the gaming space in mobile, but we may be interested in. He said the indication was they weren't not looking at.
Right. The only thing he didn't want to do was the traditional console.
Right.
Which is kind of a throwaway comment.
But why would he make a console? I mean, they make iPads and laptops and desktops, and
Apple
I don't
TV,
think a console.
Yeah.
They don't need one. Make Apple TV, and frankly, I can think of 10 different ways that you could combine an iPad, an iPhone, and an Apple TV to create a really interesting gaming experience in the living room.
Right.
And they're not doing it right now. They're doing mirroring, which doesn't really, serve the same purpose.
Well, and then he said, and then I think this is really interesting. He said, we're going to double down on secrecy, thus saying double down, which is
the buzzword of D.
It's a virus throughout our community right now.
Double down on secrecy, and then literally the next day there were a bunch of
there's leaks everywhere. Almost as like they took it as a challenge. Like the guy.
Here's what I hope.
Yeah.
I have my theory is that and this could be totally wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
It probably is, but my theory is that the stuff we're seeing is like a fake product that Apple is.
It looks real bad.
Leaking.
I mean, it looks exactly like the existing iPhone, only taller.
See an iPhone, yeah, which is to me is a huge. I think it's a huge misstep for them. I'll be honest with you, I talked to a lot of people at D, just in the industry, not journalists, not critics of technology, who were like, man, iOS is looking really old and their hardware is looking really old. And they're like, people talking about the Galaxy S3 and other devices, like, I might switch. I heard plenty of people who had an iPhone in their hand say stuff like that.
Right.
They were kind of bored of iOS. And I think that's a real sentiment, like not just amongst those people, but also amongst like your average consumer. So my like secret hope is that this phone we're seeing is like kind of a red herring. It's kind of like a, to get you off of the trail of the real phone.
Yeah.
But I have no idea if that's the case or not.
Well, it's funny because...
But there were a lot of leaks.
A lot of leaks. WWDC is coming right up. I think we're all fairly convinced that there's not going to be a new phone at WWDC.
No, but I was thinking about this morning. What if they have to have a new resolution, like not just twice resolution, do the developers have to have time to build for this? And if they do, will they make a comment about it at WWDC?
I mean, what if they do what they did with the original iPhone, where they show it and say this is the new phone and it's coming in September?
Right.
They kill the sales of their existing phone. I mean,
maybe they don't care.
I think they care. I mean,
well,
I don't think. I mean, that's like the Osborne effect. Do you know about this? It's like the classic.
Yes, the Osborne.
The Osborne effect, where you kill the sales of your existing product by announcing the next one. I don't think Apple's that dumb.
And you don't think people are already saying, I'm not going to buy, I'm waiting for the iPhone 5? Because I know people who definitely are.
Yeah, but millions upon millions of other people are buying the 4S. I mean, they're every quarter sales are higher than the quarter before.
Not everyone realizes year after year it's the exact same schedule.
Right. I think we just know a lot of nerds.
Well, that's unquestionably true.
I mean, I think what we're seeing is, I agree with you. I think it's some other crap that is like out in the open. I don't think you say we're going to double down on secrecy and then have a bunch of leaks. I mean,
maybe you do if you're not actually effective in doubling down on secrecy. I think when you say doubling down on anything, in my experience, that has always been, it's almost like you're admitting that you're not going to do that thing. Right. I mean, seriously, can you remember a time when somebody said we're doubling down on X and it turned out to be correct?
You know what this all comes back to is HP saying it was going to double down on WebOS. That was the first time.
WebOS.
That was literally, that was the first time I think I've heard that phrase in kind of the recent
certainly the first time we ever used it in a headline.
Yeah, it was. You put it in the headline at Engadget.
Peter showed me the from 2010. It was from D, I think. Was it from D?
No, it was an interview with you. They bought it, and then you had a call with Ruby and somebody else. And I think it was Todd Bradley said we're going to double down on WebOS. And then just over 2 years later,
everyone's doubling down.
I mean, I really think there's like this thing in the industry where we have to stop using the phrase double down.
That's a kiss of death.
It's a kiss of death, and also like I don't know what I'm supposed to expect from that. Like, are you what are the material? I get that what you're trying to say, like you're all in, which is another thing that people say. We're all in on this. I feel like it's kind of a thing that people say when they're just making stuff up.
Yeah, they're not actually saying anything.
Yeah. Of course.
No,
double down.
As a joke yesterday, I tweeted that I was doubling down and getting back to New York, and I was afraid the plane was going to crash. I mean, it's at that level of like just bad omen. The other thing Tim Cook talked about at D was the television, and the rumors of the TV are now rampant. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere. I think Boy Genius had a rumor this week that they're going to show off the TV OS at WWDC and give developers time to prepare for it. We've heard endless rumors of LCD screens being cut or some new technology that doesn't exist yet being developed. I have to say.
So here's
wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think any of it's true. I don't think they're anywhere near putting out a TV, and I don't think they've solved the core problem of the television market. The number one core problem is you got to put TV on it, and I don't think that they have shown any. I think if they were out there talking to RCN and Comcast and Cablevision and Time Warner and all the people you got to talk to put television on TV, I think we'd hear about it a lot.
And not to mention the technology TVs like LCDs, LEDs, plasma, like that's still not quite the quality that
I think they're poking around, and I think the other thing is, we talked a bunch about it at CS. I think there's a core interface problem with television, and they've changed Apple TV how many times and however many years.
Right.
I think the current iteration is the worst thing I've ever seen. If you showed me the Apple TV as it exists right now with that screen, that interface, like Apple's going to reinvent TV, I'd be like, they have no idea what they're doing because it's a piece. It's a great product. I use it for AirPlay nonstop. Everything else about it is like ugly or broken.
Right.
I think that they'll do something better with the interface. I think that is going to happen. I think that as to the question about whether or not they're going to make a TV, look, if Apple wants to be in some market at this point, like no one's going to tell them no, and no one's going to stop them, and they'll probably be successful in it. I mean, they'll have some success, right? Even the Apple TV is starting to become like a little bit successful for them, but I don't think it's as successful as they want it to be, and I don't think that Tim Cook, a guy who is was in charge prior to this of like deciding how these products get built and how much it costs to build them and how quickly you can build them. I don't think he looks at that business right now and says this is a slam dunk. And unless they have some wild revolutionary ace in the hole, and look, if Ari Emanuel is any indication of where the industry that they have to partner with is at, I don't think they have some revolutionary ace in the hole that's going to change the game right now. And I think that's the real. I don't think they're going to do it until they can.
Cook said we're not looking to be in the content business right now, right? He said we're not going to go and buy a studio. We're not going to buy Universal or whatever it is.
Right.
And that means they have to partner with these guys. And in that industry, there is no AT&T. There's no giant national company that will do what you want because they need to compete.
Right. But even when you use AT&T, you're still pretty much everywhere. Like that's the content pipe.
Right. But it's the content for a cell phone is you get data and voice, right? And then you can go and do whatever you want. The content for a television is television. And that is, you think the content industry is weird and paranoid and closed off. The cable industry is notoriously like insular. You know how you get a cable card certification? You go and ask Cable Labs. You know who owns Cable Labs? The cable companies. Like there's no way you can like get in that market that way.
So here's something that Ari was talking about that I actually I would have liked to have a conversation with him about, and maybe I will at some point. He was talking about the syndication model, okay? And he was talking about, Walt and I actually talked about this after the interview because Walt thought this was a place where, Ari said there aren't any cord cutters, and that, Walt said, well, there's people who are never getting cable. And, Ari didn't think that was correct. And there definitely is a generation of people who are like, I don't need cable because I have a bunch of other ways to get this content. But he talked about syndication, how lucrative syndication was on television, the licensing of, the first round of syndication, the second round, it's very lucrative. So what happens to syndication in the world where programming is no longer a thing, where like this thing is on at this time, right? Because I think that we're approaching this mindset where you want to be able to get your stuff when you want it. Like maybe I'll subscribe to a show and pay for that, or I'll subscribe to a network and get a certain number of shows on that network. But, I don't watch Game of Thrones when it airs, and I don't know anybody else who does. And in a world where like syndication is outmoded because you're not like stumbling on a thing, because you're not flipping through channels, because you're not watching scheduled programming, like when you think about what has to happen to this model and what will happen, like I just think, Apple has to find somewhere that's really revolutionary and will change what we do now, and the industry doesn't want that. And so I don't see how they have some big, I don't know what their big content deal is, short of like you can rent a movie and you can buy an episode of a TV show, which is not, and like you said, the cable companies aren't going to let go of the monopoly they have. Right. Which allows things like syndication deals to be so lucrative.
And I'm saying, even if you get Comcast, let's say Apple wins, they get Comcast. That's 30% of the country. That's not everybody. That's not a big market.
Also, we don't have our bandwidth. The pipes are not big enough right now into most people's homes to make this a really satisfying experience, every day. I don't believe we're there with bandwidth at all. I mean, I have Time Warner DOCSIS in New York. And it is not there yet to really do, multi-room streaming in HD. Like that's not going to happen.
My Fios is getting upgraded in June.
Oh, is it really?
to 75 up and like 35 down.
You're kind of an asshole right
mean,
now.
Yeah, I feel pretty. The top tier, dude. The top tier of FiOS in June will be 300 up and 70, or 300 down and 75 up, which is ridiculous.
I mean, there are a lot of reasons to dislike you, but that one is at the top.
Pretty big one.
I'm really hesitant to move. Ross can tell you, I talk about moving and finding an apartment all the time, and
You're not convenient at
FiOS
all.
keeps me there.
I
I'm always late.
I think it's a great example of part of the problem.
Yeah.
You know, like look at all the factors. You know, it's like Apple's a factor, the studios are a factor, the cable companies are a factor. The cable companies are a factor for two reasons. It's about where the cable's coming from, whether it's the dumb pipe that sends your cable down to your DVR or the other pipe that is the internet.
Yeah.
And then, like, even into looking at that pipe, you've got a bunch of other problems where it's like the bandwidth isn't enough and you can't get it certain places, and it's
There's
not
caps.
You know,
they're capping it.
It's not even a utility, really. I mean, we don't even regulate it like a utility, which is what it is. You know, we're not regulating internet like electricity.
No.
We should be.
You know, that was the should I just do this thing? That was the net neutrality fight. Literally, the FCC said, we're going to move broadband access under the same part of the law, Title II, as the phone service, because we regulate phone service as a utility, and the phone companies are common carriers, and they have to abide by these rules, and it's all neutral. Right. And the internet companies freaked out. And they won. They just won. I mean, they didn't have...
Yes.
The FCC tried to do...
Which is why...
And you know, the FCC is trying to do, actually right now, TC had a report on it last week. The FCC is trying to do the same thing right now with the cable companies and like companies like Aereo, where they're saying we have an entire, this is such a wonky thing. They have an entire thing where if you run a cable company, you're called an MVPD, a multiple video provider distributor, something like that. And if you're that thing, the networks have to sell you content at a fair rate.
Which almost comes like the syndication issue again.
And so they're saying, well, we want the internet services to be classified under that. We want to sneak them in under this other law so that the content owners have to sell them the stuff at the fair rate. And the content owners are fighting it with maybe the most pedantic arguments. Like ABC is out there saying, when people think of a channel, they think of the specific RF frequencies that are associated with a channel on their local television dial. And it's like, no, they're not, dude. They barely even think of a number. They think of 3 letters and content coming to them. I bet most of them would prefer to think of abc.com, which has nothing to do with RF frequency. And at the end of the day, what they really think of, I just had this conversation this week with somebody very smart. What consumers really think of, and this goes to your point, they think of shows. They don't think of networks. You don't have a loyalty to NBC or ABC or Fox. You have a loyalty to the show that you want to watch. And the only network I can think of that has broad consumer loyalty as a network is ESPN. I can't think of another one because people just turn on ESPN, they leave it running all day. Maybe CNN, but even then CNN is like...
CNN.
Yeah, but CNN's like... If you replace CNN with something better, you'd be like, okay, it's fine. It's more talking head news, right?
Right. I mean, CNN is mostly garbage. I mean, during the day.
Right, but ESPN, like people want
the
product of ESPN. They want whatever it is to be on, and they think it's a good product.
Well, I mean,
I realize that I'm sitting here in like SB Nation Studios, and I think this product is way better out here.
Right, way better. No, Barry Diller made this point about, you know, some people want ESPN really badly, and some people don't want it at all. Yeah. And the people who want it really badly will really honestly subsidize it for the people who don't. I mean, right now I'm subsidizing it for people who want it. I don't want it. If you told me I'm going to take ESPN off of your cable and it'll reduce the price of your contract X amount of dollars, I'd say that's great. Go ahead and do that. And the other people, if they said it's going to increase it X amount of dollars, they'd probably be like, well, I need to have ESPN, but I don't want E, and I don't want Bravo, and I don't want. But this is the thing. This gets back to the Ari Emanuel argument, which is, we have the system, and it works this way. We make movies this way. We make TV this way. They go on channels. They get syndicated, and it makes money for everybody. We have an industry to support. We have people who work and do this stuff. And if you change that, jobs will be lost, money will be lost, and it will, irreparably alter how we do business. And this is what I'm saying. Yes, that's what's going to happen. It is what's going to happen. It is what always happens, almost without fail, when technology changes. And when I mean, it happens everywhere. The thing that's hard is to accept that it's happening. The thing that's hard is to go, I can try to fight to protect this thing that I have, which, by the way, is an incredible thing. Okay, what nobody says, what they'll tell you is we're struggling. And look, there are places where the margins are very low, but the entertainment industry is enormously profitable and has a lot of money to play with. Okay, it's a large industry. And what you'll do is you say, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose this thing that I have. It's very valuable. And that's true, it is very valuable, but it has to change. It can't not change. The horse-drawn carriage was valuable to someone at some point too. And then somebody invented a car and people were like, wait a second, the car works way better. It makes a lot more sense for me. And at first they were really expensive and hard to get and not everybody had one and both things were on the road. And then at some point, horse-drawn carriages, like you only see them, in the middle of Pennsylvania. The Amish are riding them. Yeah. And it's like, even now, like, I don't even know if the Amish use them anymore. So
they're like sneaking around in cars dressed up like horse-drawn carriages.
I mean, let me put it to you this way. If somebody tomorrow said, hey, you know what? iPad magazines, iPad, like, you download them, the Wired and, Engadget does distro and all these different, like, kind of static documents. That's what everybody's reading now. They don't want to read online. They don't want to tweet. They don't want to comment. The whole model has shifted. What are you going to do? Would I say, well, I'm going to keep doing this thing because I think it'll someday it's going to fight back to relevance, or people won't just avoid it. They're going to use it because my product is better or whatever. Or would I go, all right, well, I got to make some changes because I want to still be in the game. I would say I'm going to make some changes, and some of those changes might be I'm going to have a less of a staff, or I'm going to lose developers, or I have to think differently about the way we do our content because it's a new format. But would I rather adapt to the thing where the culture is going, or would I rather try to sit on what I have and hope for the best, And that's the hard decision that, like, nobody wants to. This is, somebody just tweeted at me. They said your article is wrong because the music industry didn't go back to normal. They lost a bunch of money and the thieves won. This is what they said. Post is pompous and you're fundamentally wrong about the music biz. It lost half its value. Problem wasn't solved. Thieves won. Here's what happened. The market demand won. The industry was changed and it lost value. And that's what happens when things change sometimes. The music industry couldn't be sustained the way it was running. Like, I don't have a problem with that equation. Do I think that we'll get to a point where we can't support art and artistic endeavors? No, I don't think we're anywhere near that point. I actually think that we're seeing an explosion of that stuff, and a lot of it has to do with technology. And I think that'll happen even more when these companies start to really embrace this stuff and say, like, we're changing, we're going to change, we're going to adapt. And maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
You're probably wrong.
You're probably.
That's my guess. Also, Ross, we're making an iPad magazine and you're fired. I don't know if you got that from Josh's impassioned speech.
It's fine. I'm going to go make an iPhone magazine.
Ever smaller.
All y'all.
The thing about that is the demand changed, but the kind of demand didn't change. And I think that we should move on, but we've talked about this for a long time. But the kind of demand didn't change, but the amount of demand increased. And I think if you're running any kind of business and you're seeing demand increase when your profits go down, you're like, what is broken here?
No, what I want to say about music is this. And by the way, I worked in the music industry. I got paid by people in the music industry. I have signed contracts in the music industry. So I have some idea of how this works. What happened is there were people who were making a lot of money. A smaller amount of people were making a lot of money. So what happened now is a lot more people are making music. There's more music than there has ever been. It's easier to get than it's ever been. A person who's an artist who's just starting has ways to be discovered they would have never had in the old model. So more music is being heard, and the consumer is better for it, and our world is better for it. I believe that it's better to have more people creating art than less people, than fewer people. And what happened though is those places where it was pooled, those places where people were making a lot of money changed. They got disrupted. They're not the same. And yeah, that's really hard for them. But the world changed. Like, the world will change. There was a time in this country when women couldn't vote. There was a time in this country when blacks couldn't vote. I mean, stuff has to change.
What's going on over there?
Sorry, there's like people walking by the window here. Hang on. I'm just going to shut the window.
Josh is definitely going to get murdered right now. I mean, without question.
We've gone from, I just want to be clear, we've gone from copyright law to music.
Suffrage.
To women's suffrage.
Yeah,
yes.
that happened.
All suffrage, really, yeah.
Wow. I mean, is he coming back? Oh, he's back.
Okay, yeah.
We were legitimately worried for your safety.
There was like a...
Also, Ross pointed out that we went from Ari Emanuel to women's suffrage in like 3 moves, which is pretty impressive for us. Yeah. Even for us, that is impressive.
Adapt or die.
All right.
Okay, good. All right.
Do you want to talk about anything else that happened at D10? There was the CEO of Skype was on. You talked about the Spotify guys. Anything else from the conference you want to touch on?
Wait, on what? The Skype guys? They said that I told them that the design was terrible, and Tony. I said the new Skype design is terrible, and everybody I know who uses it thinks it's terrible. And are you going to do anything about it? And he said we have a lot of users that think it's great. But then later I heard from someone, sources familiar with the matter, that they are actually working on a new design.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Which I haven't reported yet. So busy writing about Ari Emanuel.
Let's talk about the Chromebook and Chromebox that came out this week, because you helped on the reviews with David.
I love them.
You do. Actually,
really?
You were really stoked on the Chromebook. You were initially very, and I still think it's ridiculous, a ridiculous product.
Second.
I think the new Chromebook is actually like a lot more useful and usable than any other Chromebook that's ever existed. How's that work for you?
That doesn't say much. Yeah. It's like saying it's the best BlackBerry ever. It's still BlackBerry.
No, but they're really doing something interesting. I mean, they're doing something really fascinating. They are going in a direction that I believe is like a true, real new direction for computing, which is like literally it is all cloud based. I mean, the apps are web pages, they're HTML5 apps, and some are Flash based, and they'll move away from that as HTML5 and other stuff gets more advanced. But I think it's a really exciting idea, and I think they actually made it a lot better because they did some things that allowed me to bridge the gap easier. So I'm used to working in Windows. I like Windows, not the software, but the actual things. I was actually in a Microsoft store yesterday. And there's some pretty nice laptops there, actually. I was like pretty tempted to buy one. Sony. There's also a Sony store here, which I haven't been in a Sony store in ages, and they have, gotta say, their ID is really nice. It's still like they still make some really good moves. Sorry, not to get off track. I'd like them to make a Chromebook, but it does these things now where you can run Windows for your apps. You can switch between them like you would in a normal computing environment, and it's much faster. They fixed the typekit issue at our request, by the way. I just want to say you're welcome, everybody who is using a Chromebook and wondering why sites look like crap. I told the guys on the Chromebook team, I was like, it doesn't display typekit properly. And they were like, you're the first person that's ever told us that, which I was surprised.
It's because we live in a cave and never talk to humans who use the internet.
Unless they have Project Glass on.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's possible. But so yeah, I actually think it gets closer to bridging the gap between the cloud experience and the traditional, PC experience. And, I could see it being used for a casual user. It's like a pretty good day-to-day device. I really believe that. Like, I think it's like a lot less computer than a Mac or like a decently stacked PC.
Too much money.
For some people that they need to price them. They need to price them at like $250 or $300. Even $300 would be like, it's a lot of computer for.
So that puts it at the range of Android tablets. Is Chrome OS justifiable as a second Google OS? That's what I'm not
actually. The bigger problem is it puts it in the range of an iPad. And if you're a person who wants to do some casual computing, and you want like an interface that's like kind of app based, that's sort of all about these Windows, full screen windows you look at. Does it make sense to spend $550 on that, or does it make sense to spend $500 or $400 on an iPad 2 and get like a nice keyboard dock for it or something? And I think that's the problem with the Chromebook right now is like, why would I spend $450 on it? And I don't think they have a great answer.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they. I mean, there's no value proposition there. I don't know why I'd buy one. The Chrome box to me is even crazier. I mean, you can buy a small Windows PC for nothing, for $0. I mean,
would it be cool if like they had done something with the Chrome box where they had, had some great media playback options, or made it like a part Apple TV, part Chrome box or something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that one's so
weird.
Unclear.
I mean, I was like, I was in a Walmart the other day, and I definitely saw like a netbook that was, it was like $278. and it's like it was a Windows.
I think
PC.
that what they
It was really sad. It was an HP,
what
and
they
it had a Discover WebOS icon on the desktop, and I was like, "Oh man,
That's so cute.
I think what they want to do with Chrome boxes is they're looking at enterprise. I think they want thin clients for enterprise that can be updated easily, that are virus free, blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah.
but why the hell does it have like
they,
6 USB ports?
Yeah.
And why does it look so shamelessly like a Mac Mini? Like
maybe there's an enterprise need for the ports.
Yeah, some CIO somewhere is like, look, I need a computer that can only run a web browser, but has 6 USB ports. I don't know.
Well, think about what you can do if it's all a web-based environment. I mean, for enterprise, I mean, I think that like
Schmidt's
there's a real, I don't think they're there. Yeah, Schmidt's dream, exactly. I don't think they're there yet, but I think that's where they're targeting the desktop personally. But I honestly think the new version is cool. And if it were less money, I could really recommend it to casual users. If it were $300, I'd say like this is a really cool computer to have for $300. The screen looks good, the hardware is decent. It's kind of plasticky, but the keyboard is really good. The software is fast, the browsing is fast, the trackpad responsiveness was really good, and I think at the right price point, it's a cool computer, and like I could recommend it over like a netbook, a
would
PC
you buy it
netbook
with
or something.
ads? Because we heard some stuff that they're going to do it with ads, right? They're going to lower the price and put ads on it and subsidize it. Because I have a Kindle with ads, and I don't care.
Actually,
at
I
all.
prefer it, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would that be like I'm browsing and I get a special interstitial, like a full screen interstitial while I'm browsing a page or something? Like
I don't know. I don't think Google.
Well,
I don't think Google knows better than to do that kind of crap. But they would do something.
well, I hate ads.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hate like ads that are in my interface. Sorry, I like good advertising.
Yeah.
What I don't like is cluttery ads. Like when I see the ads in Gmail in my regular Gmail account, it drives me crazy. And I never click on them, obviously, because I'm in my email, and I don't want to be advertised to. But so it would have to be done in a way that was non-intrusive, and I don't know how you do that on a computer.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't pay less for something with ads. I would pay more for something without ads.
Right.
But that's just me.
Well, you probably get both options. So let's swing back all the way. Windows 8 release preview put out this week. David and Tom did a huge hands-on preview of it. Some kind of huge changes. They put a special version of Flash in the Metro version of IE.
One that does just videos.
It's limited. It only does videos, and Microsoft maintains a whitelist of sites that are allowed to use Flash.
That is the craziest part to me.
That version of Flash will also be on the ARM tablets, which to me sounds like death. Because Flash on ARM has traditionally sucked about as hard as any product has ever sucked.
They just say it's like it's gonna save battery if it's just video. Somehow. I don't know.
You know what? You know what's great at playing videos off the internet in a mobile device is like iOS and Android, and they don't need Flash to do it. So I don't know what they're thinking there. A bunch of other changes, a lot of new apps, and then Tom reported that Microsoft is taking out all of the ability for third-party hacks to put the start menu back on the desktop. So not only are they saying we're taking away the start menu from normal people, they're removing all the hooks and all the bits and pieces of legacy code that would let you put the start menu back, which I think is very aggressive move on Microsoft's part. And it's hard. There's a part of me that really like wants to cheer them on, like break with the past and go for it. And there's a part of me like, you're gonna make a lot of people really angry.
Hey,
and if you look in our forums and you
adapt or die, man.
And you look around, yeah. The
Wait a
problem is
Sorry,
the die.
What are they doing? What is this? Can you explain?
So right now
in
the consumer preview, and I believe in release preview, I was traveling too, so I haven't really gotten a chance to play with it. But you can hack Windows 8 to put the start menu back in the traditional desktop view. Right. So you can get the desktop back to it, and then you can go to Metro and do whatever you want. In the new version, Tom is reporting that the final build, they're taking out all the bits of code and all the things that enable those hacks to work. So that you will never get a start menu back in Windows 8. And I think it's a very ballsy move. It's courageous. I appreciate it.
It's rough.
But
that's rough.
In our forums, there are people who are pissed off about it. Tom is saying that the broader Microsoft community is kind of angry about it. It's to me, it's like Microsoft they're going for it with Windows 8. They're trying to do something new. I read a few pretty interesting articles over the week. People basically saying this is a huge inflection point for Microsoft. They're betting the company on this. This is a bigger deal than we're making it out to be. And I think that little thing, that removal of the start button, I think kind of just, it's like the cherry on top of like the risk sundae.
Right. I mean, like, well, Metro design itself is unification across not just Windows, but the phone, even Xbox.
Right.
Like every platform they have is kind of converging. Like it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I was a traditional Windows user, I mean, we've seen however many stories of people used to Windows now trying to use Windows 8 and trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
And that learning curve is like Microsoft has to explain how they're going to teach people to use this product, because it's not, once you get it, it makes a little bit of sense and you can flow into it. And I've been using it on a laptop at home. I don't have a tablet.
Right. Well, so my question to that is like, we know Windows because we grew up with Windows. It's not exactly a simple, easy to use design. Someone who's not used Windows but comes over to Windows 8, sees the Metro design, is that easier for them? Like, I don't know. I'm a little too far removed from being able to kind of figure that out.
Right. And, my number one kind of confusion with Metro remains, is it, quote, beautiful handcuffs, right? I mean, can you tell app developers this is how everything has to look with what is a pretty rigid kind of set of expectations? And Metro apps that are beautiful are among the most beautiful apps ever created. Metro apps that like fake it are among the worst ever made. And I don't know the answers. Mr. Topolsky?
Can you guys, can you still see me and hear me?
Yeah.
Because
Good to go.
I feel like my bandwidth went way down.
You're getting throttled by the hotel. Comcast.
I mean, I
knows
probably
you're
am being
complaining.
throttled by the hotel, actually. But I actually talked to some people at D about Windows 8 and how big of a gamble it was. And I have to say the sentiment there, even with people who were very familiar with the matter, was that it is a big gamble for them, and that they have, this is gonna be a big moment for Microsoft. Win or lose, I'm very curious to see how it's going to roll out. I mean, there's a certain segment of the market that's going to go buy these new machines. The question is how big, and how does Microsoft position it, and will the experience be satisfying and enjoyable? I mean, at this point, you got to go beyond like, hey, it's Windows, right? For these, if you're like, hey, look at this new version of Windows, it's totally different. You not only have to say like, Windows is all new. So you not only have to give them like a satisfying Windows experience, but you have to go with the competition, you have to go beyond that and give them this like, whoa, I didn't know Windows could be like this experience. Right. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if they're there yet. I mean, I need to spend a lot of time with like, with this thing on a piece of hardware that it's actually made for. Because I feel like all the hardware that it's running on right now is like a hack, basically, to some extent. So I'm very curious to see like what the real like convertibles will be like, or the real tablets that they're going to bring out. And then there's the Intel market. I mean, people are going to upgrade to Windows 8. The missing start button is going to be a real mystery to a lot of people, though. I think it's going to be a real problem. I do. For that market, if you're upgrading, like I think you're going to be really, really upset, and I don't know how you get around.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's. I mean, if you're going to use the phrase "double down," that's it. You're doubling down on Metro.
If you're going to change it as much as removing the start menu, like maybe you ought to change it even more than that. I guess is my thought. Right. Don't let people feel like they're in a familiar place if the place you want them to be is unfamiliar.
Right. Let me see. There's a really great article by this guy, Michael Mace. Mobile Opportunity. And he wrote...
Cool name.
It's a good name. And he wrote, effectively, Windows 8 is Metro with a Windows 7 emulator. And it's actually a great piece. You should read it. Maybe we'll throw it in the notes or something. But it's really interesting. I mean, the amount of like hand-wringing about Windows 8 right now is much more... Windows 7... You remember when Windows 7 came out, it was like everyone was like kind of like overjoyed. They're like, okay, they took Vista, they cleaned it up, it's pretty, it's like beautiful, it's gonna work. Everyone was happy. They sold more copies of Windows 7. With Windows 8, there's a lot of deep excitement about all this new stuff, and a lot of like but why? That question just keeps coming up. Like, why do you? And like, the question we've had about the ARM stuff, why is there a desktop? That's going to be there forever. And the more they cripple the desktop on the Intel side, or the x86 side, I should say, that question is going to come up on that side too. It's like what you're saying. If you're going to do this, if you're going to make it so uncomfortable to use the desktop and so different and push people into Metro, why not provide a product that is just Metro from the ground up? Right. And we've been asking that question for months. But to me, this new version and kind of Tom's report, David and Tom looked at the new version. They said it's beautiful and fast and stable. And David said, I don't want to use the desktop unless I'm forced to, which is wild.
Right. Well, I do think you got it. I think they should go all in on that. They should double down on Metro. They got to double down on Metro, and they're not totally doing it. And I feel like there was a different way to do this, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. When I get to this thing in my hands and use it, maybe the fluidity will work in a way that is super great. I don't know. I'm actually, despite what my critics will tell you, I actually have a completely open mind about what this experience will be like. Like, I am ready for it to be really good. Like, I'm prepared to have that happen. I don't have any judgment on it right now in terms of what it will be. I think that it could be really great, and I think that we could be. Look, there are a lot of people. Sinofsky's not a dumb guy, okay? Sinofsky is a very smart guy, and there are a lot of very smart people who've worked on this project. And I've talked to a bunch of people at Microsoft who've worked on it, and I don't think they're not aware of what they're doing. And so I think that there's a real possibility that once this thing is like in play and you're using it and it's on the right hardware, it could be an amazing experience. Yeah. You're forgetting keyboards have a start button. What do you think is going to happen with that?
You go to Metro.
Yeah. I think.
No, but
what's that?
That's what will happen. It will take you to Metro.
No, I understand. I understand that, but you're used to clicking this thing in the corner. But maybe people will be used to hitting the start button. And, there will be ways of arranging your apps that feels really natural. And so maybe it won't be this big, like, what the hell, like, I can't use this thing anymore. And so that won't be the problem. Maybe that will actually not be an issue at all. I'm just saying that I haven't seen the hardware that people are putting it on. Am I okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, the sports guys are having some kind of frat party out there.
Freaking out. Yeah. You're not getting shot by Ari Emanuel. But I'm just saying my mind is open on this. But I agree that there are a lot of people in the industry who have expressed, like, from what I can tell, a real concern over whether this is going to be a home run or a swing and a miss for them.
Yeah, we'll find out.
That's a sports
metaphor. October? Is that the latest rumor?
I think so.
October that this thing is happening.
I thought that didn't one of the Microsoft beat people like Thurrott or Foley or somebody say that Sinofsky mentioned it, or am I hallucinating?
I think we
Maybe
reported
it was
October.
Date for
it's going to be hard for me to find out.
I might be thinking of the release preview, which is what we have now, right?
A day ago, we reported Microsoft hints at October release.
That's what I thought.
No, in line with their schedule. With their traditional schedule.
Yeah, and they've got to hit back to school and all that stuff, and that's right around there. So I guess that's not actually. That's early
holidays.
summer.
It's holiday season.
Holidays. Yeah, we just bought you a computer for back to school, and now.
Well, how cool!
Hanukkah and all that.
How cool will it be in the holiday season when you've got all these crazy new tablets and convertibles and things to buy for people? I think if you miss that window, it would be very foolish.
Yeah. Also, $14 upgrades, I think, after now, right? If you buy a computer now, you get like a $14 upgrade to Windows 8. Is that anything after June 2nd?
Yeah.
That's what they told me.
What they need to do is make the upgrade as cheap as Apple makes their upgrades.
That is cheaper. Apple's upgrades are $29.
You buy a computer now, but if you have one you bought 2 months ago.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, you're screwed. That guy.
It's going to be
sucks
like
for you.
Or something.
Okay, so let's talk about. Let's see if I can keep segueing. I've been doing pretty good.
Yes.
Microsoft makes the Xbox. Yeah. That was awful. No. That was the worst segue I've ever delivered. Microsoft makes the Xbox.
All right. Go on. I'm intrigued.
Fact.
The Xbox plays video games. There's
true.
Kind of.
Yeah, it does some other stuff too.
Yeah, a little bit.
And there's an enormous video game show coming up that you are remaining in LA for. And Ross, you're leaving tomorrow?
Sunday.
You're leaving Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
E3 coming up. And Ross,
we have a party. Forget about that. Forget about E3. We have a party on Sunday here.
Yeah, with Polygon.
Yes.
Are you and Chris Grant going to go shot for shot in the middle of the Polygon party?
There's
We
free
have-
alcohol. It's free booze all night.
We have games. We have games. It's sponsored by Qualcomm. We have games. We have booze, free booze. We have music from DJ Trent, who you may know as Trent Wolby. And it's gonna be a good time.
should've
The
stayed
place
out
we're
there.
doing it is really nice.
Yeah.
What's that?
I should have stayed out there. I was just on
And
there
you-
for a day, but I missed
You
it.
can RSVP for it on the internet, I think.
Yeah, unless Comcast filters you.
Good
I'm gonna
app.
tell you where.
All right.
By the way, I hate doing this on Skype. I'm never doing this on Skype again.
Because of the delay, the
It's
terrible
like-
delay.
The delay and everything's fuzzy, and the blue and green coloring of this situation here.
Yeah, what is this green light that's going on?
So everything in this hotel room is fluorescent lighting, and this is what fluorescent light looks like. You don't know. It's disgusting. It's sickening.
Just
It's
feels
foul.
like
It's foul.
I mean, did you white balance your computer so that because you look like a normal.
right.
Actually,
No,
you look a
there's
little
a-
healthier than normal.
Well,
That
I
could be
actually
it.
think, see, on what I see as I look red, I can't tell, but
Oh, wait, are
There's some
you
data-
guys white balancing Josh? No. You do. I mean, you have some tint, I guess. It looks good.
all right, fine. I'm wearing makeup. I admit it. Okay, I'm covered in makeup.
So Ross, walk us
Um,
through E3. You're a
E3
point. You're a
What-
man on the ground.
I want to know what is going to happen at E3 this year. I feel like we're going to see more of the Wii U, and there aren't going to be any big surprises. Am I crazy?
Well, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with Microsoft and Sony. Let's start with Nintendo. So you brought Nintendo up. So Nintendo has gone out and just said, we're going to show the final format. We're going to show you that launch lineup or a bunch of the software titles for the launch. We're not going to tell you when it comes out. Probably sometime in the year. So that,
Cool.
Nintendo's done. Like that's pretty much it. It's probably going to look exactly like we saw it before.
Weren't they changing it? I thought they were changing the controller.
They're going to tweak it, which means like they may move the D-pad around. I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. I think it's just going to be kind of what we saw, tweaks here and there, nothing special.
Right.
So,
So
like, that's taken care
Nintendo's slow slide into irrelevance continues.
of. The thing about Nintendo is they don't really make great hardware. They never really have, but they've made games people want to play, and that's what's mattered. It's the content. Do you
Right.
want to play Mario again?
Right.
Do you want to play Pikmin again?
I mean, I had a lot of doubts about the Wii.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately the Wii wasn't for me, but it was obviously for a lot of other people. Except now, there are a lot of really innovative things going on in gaming. You got Kinect, which is extremely innovative,
Right.
and people have seemed to get into. And you've got mobile gaming. You got what Apple's doing, which is like hey, you have a tablet in your lap and you're using it to play a game, and like you can move the tablet around, you can move stuff on screen, and I think they're going to do some cool things. But the demo videos I've seen with the Wii U have been completely uninspiring to me. Like
Right.
they haven't. It hasn't looked like anything I'm that interested in. Am I crazy? Maybe I am.
No, I mean I think it's a universal feeling. Like Nintendo's like Wii U is like supposed to like kind of more cater to the hardcore market, but it really doesn't.
Right.
It's like a casual system that's going to be a little pricey and a little more complicated. I'm not sure who they're reaching out for
And
anymore.
the internals are still like fairly dated compared to
the demos
like
we saw
Xbox.
looked pretty bad. They look like Xbox 360. And next
Right.
year we're going to get PlayStation
Which
4.
this
the new
should be-
Xbox. Yeah, they should be
Yeah, my
much better.
impression is this should be like, guess what, Microsoft, you're going to have to launch a new console to catch up with us in the graphics department.
No, that's never Nintendo's
But then it doesn't matter
fault.
anymore. Like
When has Nintendo ever done that?
well,
Maybe the
they did.
N64.
N64, GameCube, like back then that
Right.
it mattered. Like
Right.
Right.
you could argue the Wii was like their first
But
large step back out of the graphics race, and it worked
And
for
you
them.
could also say graphics don't matter, but if you look at because of like the iPad and the iPod Touch or whatever, but actually people are making some pretty graphically beautiful games given the quite limited hardware
Right.
that they have. I mean, that's not a console at all.
But
right?
that's not technical
Uh,
graphics. That's design. I mean, that's largely just
Well-
design.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like there are also games like Nova or whatever that are pretty graphically intense, like Shadowgun, that look really good. They look like almost like console
Yeah,
games.
they do look.
And
Shadowgun looks good.
And I feel like that like they're not going to stop doing that. Those are going to get better, and so they're not just competing from like up here. They're also competing from like the bottom up. Like, so I think that they're in a weird place. Like, I feel like they need to really blow people away, and I don't see that happening right now with the Wii U.
Yeah, I think Nintendo's day of dominating the console market, I don't think that's going to happen again. And I think Apple, who is not going to be at E3, which is, giving their influence on the gaming society, it's that elephant in the room, or the elephant not going to be in the room.
But the elephant will be around the room.
The elephant will be there. It's in everyone's pocket.
There'll be iOS booths, gaming booths in the shape of an elephant. Let's keep going. Sony.
So Sony, there have been a couple weird rumors coming out, especially recently, about what's going to be shown. So Sony's already come out and said there's no PlayStation 4 that's going to be shown.
Yeah.
So don't even worry about it. Don't think about it.
Why would you do that? You could do 50 more riffs in the PS3.
Of course.
It can do everything.
Sorry. The rumor that came out today, which I thought was interesting, but I don't really believe it all. It's too good to be true, those kind of rumors. Some streaming company is going to help Sony make a streaming service where they stream PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games
to
the PS3. So it solves the backwards compatibility issue. You just stream it like you would online.
Is that still an issue?
Oh yeah, they took out compatibility.
Well, no, but did anybody care? I mean, I bought a used original PS3 so I could play pretty much NBA Jam.
Well, I mean, if you could stream that, you could probably also stream PSN games.
Sure. Okay.
And it's not going to matter now. It will matter for PS4 because chances are, I don't think Sony's going to go back to the cell processor. So PS3 games will not be compatible.
So you think they're
that's a super interesting idea?
They're going to stream PS3 games too?
I mean, I think streaming games is going to become a thing at some point. I don't know if it's short-term or long-term future.
Yeah.
Cloud. No, but that's really interesting. That idea is really interesting. I mean, what you're talking about is backwards compatibility, but in a way that nobody ever considered it, how it would work. Like, to me, that is a really revolutionary concept. So first off, I don't know how big of a thing it is at this point, backwards compatibility. I know there's a certain segment of people who are really interested in that and upset about what Sony has done, Nilay being one of them. But I also think that if you had the option and it didn't require maybe even having the physical media in front of you, that's a really interesting proposition. But you've got to have this goes back to the bandwidth thing. You got to have the bandwidth for that, and the services have to be essentially zero, or the latency has to be so low that it's imperceptible.
Online's pretty good.
Yeah, online's pretty good.
Gaikai is okay.
Gaikai is getting there. More on that later, I guess. Wall Street Journal, actually, on that note, Wall Street Journal actually reported that Sony considered a streaming-only PS3 successor, but then they decided against it and went with the disc.
Right.
You know who had a lot to say about this, although we haven't done the video yet? John Carmack.
Yeah, you just hung out with John Carmack,
he is an insane, brilliant man who does not think like human beings do. Does not. So we brought up.
Go figure.
We had 6 hours. We just hung out with him and in his office, which is a mad scientist lab, at his rocket factory, which is exactly what you think.
Sure.
And so we brought up cloud computing.
He's gonna have one.
How's your rocket factory doing, Josh?
Yeah, is it doing well? You
good, really good, great. Some great rockets coming out of there. Some great stuff.
There are prevailing themes throughout everything. But so we talked about cloud gaming. Sean really wanted me to bring it up.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's happening. It's going to happen. I'm very excited by it. And the idea that there's a connection issue is so, to him, it was a stupid thing. Because the latency was 30 milliseconds is what he estimated.
Yeah.
He's like, I can tell you exactly where to cut off 30 milliseconds with your TV, with your console, with your controller. I will make it work. And it looks just like it does with this stuff.
Wow.
I was like, why don't you do it? It's like, well, I don't really care to. He laid out exactly.
He's like, I'm busy working on this.
And then he goes, I don't care.
Well,
he's like, I'm busy working on this insane virtual reality headset, so I can't.
Yeah, tell us about this headset. Let's divert into that. I can't believe I forgot to put it on the list. Tell me about this headset.
So it was something he's been working on for 6 months, he said, just as a hobby. He thought it was interesting. He saw some headsets. He bought himself one of the Sony headsets. Was it the HMX1? The one we reviewed.
Yeah.
And he looked at it and he played with it. He goes, it's impressive, especially for the price, which is $500.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm getting Ross all the way back through.
Yeah. We're echoing.
Is it me?
It's you.
It's me?
Testing.
Hello.
Hello?
Testing.
Wait.
All right. I only hear me now, which is fine. Not twice me. I'm not doubling down on my voice. I think we're good.
Okay. Keep going. Tell me about the
to start
HMX
from scratch.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about 6 months ago, John Carmack, for whatever reason, decided to buy the Sony headset because he thought it would look cool.
He didn't decide. He just went to the store and was like, I have enough money to buy everything. One of everything, please. All right, and then continue.
Anyway, so he did that. He's like, he's like, this is impressive, especially for the price. But here's what's wrong with it. He's like, well, it's the latency is an issue. It's too slow connecting to what you're seeing. The field of view is terrible. Like it's, I think, 45, 50 degrees. You don't have an immersion experience because you know there's things around you. So he started researching. He started trying to find a headset. He found a guy who was kind of just screwing around with something. It's a single LCD panel. They split the screen, just like you do a picture-in-picture. And it's a polar picture. Like, doesn't look right. But if you put a polar lens up to it, it looks like just one island. So he puts two polar lenses on a single LCD screen. And you've got a 90-degree field of view. So all you can see is the screen. There's no
So it's 90 degrees from here.
Yeah, it's like this. So it's like, yeah. So it's a really wide field of view, really tall field of view. So you just can't see anything else. Not just like black bars, just it covers everything around you. So it's like, that's important. Let's make it fast. And then resolution is kind of like the fourth or third tier. We'll figure that one out later.
Okay, that makes sense.
So he did his little magic. He tweaked a shit ton of stuff with the algorithms. Like he had this hardware, he tweaked the hardware, and then he wrote like an entirely new engine for it. Put it on Doom 3. And so Doom 3, it comes out with BFG edition. It's like this anniversary edition that's on everything. If you have the PC, you have headset support. And later in the year, they're considering kind of bringing this headset, not maybe with it, but as a compatible system.
But where do you get the headset? I mean,
so
there's no headset.
The headset he used is actually going on Kickstarter like this week. I think maybe today.
Wow.
Some guy,
Really?
Palmer Luckey, I think is his name.
Palmer Luckey?
It's something.
Palmer Luckey.
I wish I was kidding. It's something like that. The product is called the Oculus Rift. I think the idea is like
no, it's Palmer Luckey's Oculus Rift.
Great name.
Yeah, come on.
It's exactly.
Obviously.
Oh, hey, did you get the new Oculus Rift? Of course I did. Yes, that's a great product. Everybody's using it.
From Palmer Luckey.
So is it a virtual reality? It's it's virtual reality goggles. Yes.
Yeah, it's 3D virtual reality goggles with a huge field of view.
You used it. Like, did it feel like you were in the game?
I mean, it really did because like you couldn't see away from it. You had a great field of view. It's like about as wide as I feel now.
Yeah.
Really?
It was really good. I'm impressed.
So like to hear.
Was it scary? Okay. Did you get freaked out at any point? Were you like getting attacked by an actual person?
I had a spider robot with me and vision, and that helped. I think the other thing is also that this prototype was a very early prototype. There's duct tape everywhere. It worked well. It was also like maybe 2 pounds. Like,
but when you move your head, I want to be clear. So when you're playing the game, you've got. Now, were you at a keyboard or did you have some kind of controller? How were you playing?
I had an Xbox controller.
Okay, so Xbox controller.
So like,
and so when you look to the left in the game, when you moved your head, it worked like it was completely in sync with your movement.
It had an accelerometer and a gyroscope, so it was like that was another thing. The latency was an issue, so like it was completely in sync with me moving like this, up and down, tilting my head.
So there was no latency. No latency.
I mean, it was maybe sub 20 milliseconds. I couldn't tell. And like that was his thing. He wanted to like lower it.
How much is the headset going to cost?
It's okay. To be clear, the headset idea is still like he wants it for hobbyists. So like it's going to be like a $500 range for a do-yourself kit.
I'm buying. No, I want to buy one really badly.
Yeah,
this is my
amazing.
dream. This is since I was 12 and read my first like mod 2000. Like this is what I've been waiting for is an actual virtual reality.
We
headset.
talked like his idea was like holodeck. He wants to make the holodeck, and like this is as close as we're going to get right now. Is a headset.
If you could pull off a headset that actually functions really well, there would be nobody's really done it that is even remotely consumer priced. Like it would be unbelievable.
Right. I mean the trade-off the trade-off we had was low resolution. So it's
what's the res?
It was 1280 by 800 total.
But split in two, right?
Yeah, so 640 by 800. He wants it higher, but again, he wanted to get everything else right first and then work on the resolution. He was talking about different technologies. Yeah, like he was talking about different resolution types. He wants OLED eventually, OLED.
Sorry. OLED.
OLED.
I like it.
Because he hates.
Welcome to technology.
So yeah, he hates plasma, hates LCD, hates LED. It's just not good enough for him. So like OLED is what he wants to do with this eventually, but right now he thinks it's hobbyist territory because technology isn't quite up to the level where like you pick it up. If you're not forgiving by a few things, you're gonna hate it.
Right.
But even then, like
that is awesome.
It was super impressive.
That's awesome.
You should see you guys should see the video in the story that Ross did on.
It's a lot of Ross in a giant headset just looking around.
And Polygon did stuff on the game, right?
Yeah. So I had Russ Pitstone with me, who did a much more detail on the BFG edition, kind of the history of Doom, or Doom 3 at least, and it's a little bit of a catch up to like where they've been the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fascinating read. I mean, its software itself is a very fascinating backstory. Going from
it really
22 years now, 23 years.
That's when was their first game Wolfenstein?
The first game was Commander Keen, actually, which is like nothing like anything else they've made. It's a side scroller.
Whoa.
They made a Mario 3 clone, tried to get Nintendo to like have them do the port of Mario 3 for the PC. They said no, obviously. And like, okay, so we'll take this idea, we'll make our own design, we'll use this engine we just built, and we'll make a game. So that became Commander Keen, and then from there I went to Wolfenstein 3D.
Wow.
I love it.
So let's talk about real quick Microsoft at E3. It's the last one.
So if all goes according to plan, Tom Warren has ruined all the Microsoft announcements. Our Microsoft reporter has been going crazy in the last couple months. The things that we've reported on. Project Woodstock, which is Xbox Music Center maybe, which is their Spotify service.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what Zune should have been and almost was before Spotify. It sounds like they're going to come out and maybe do that. I don't know if that's E3 or not, but that's something they're definitely in the late stages of planning for. The other thing is Connect Play Fit, which is like their exercise thing with Connect.
Microsoft Xbox 360 Connect Play Fit Windows Music Center.
But the interesting part...
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
the interesting part, though, is the Joule, as like energy, a Joule heart rate monitor.
Oh, yeah, because these are like big now.
Yeah. I think it's, if I understand the rumor correctly, it's just like a wrist thing, kind of like the Nike Feel Band.
Yeah.
So a wearable heart rate monitor that might go with this Play Fit. So it gives you some kind of, either while you're playing or maybe even like while you're just walking around, kind of an addition to your fitness cycle. If they pull that off, I mean, speaking as a Fitbit obsessive, I'd be excited.
You know, I bought the Fitbit RES scale.
Oh, really? What do you think? Do you use it that much? Or?
I mean, I step on the scale, and then the computer reminds me that I should like eat less and run more.
I bought one as well, and I have yet to set it up. So
I have an analog scale.
It does remind me that Becky is much more fit than me at every available opportunity.
I'm sorry.
Well, actually, Becky.
You could also just look at her. That would be helpful. You don't have to look at the scale. There's a lot of evidence. Okay.
And the other big announcement was Halo 4 and the new Gears of War has been kind of hinted at.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I thought.
Am I allowed to not be excited about Halo 4? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
I'm kind of run down.
I'm intrigued because it's a completely new like team behind. It's the all-star team of like game vets. Or like building.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm excited about some things there, though.
What?
Some games. What is the new Bethesda title? It's called. What is it called?
Are you talking about Dishonored?
Dishonored.
Yeah,
yes.
That's.
Which looks. I don't know.
It's not
I don't know anything about the
It's
game.
Bethesda's publisher, Arcane Studios. Yeah, it's like this steampunk like.
No. But it is a Bethesda game. I mean, it is they're distributing it. Are they not?
ZeniMax, who owns Bethesda, is the publisher distributor.
Oh, okay.
But they're also ones who publish like Skyrim. So yeah, same family.
Right. I don't know what the game's actually going to be like, but the trailer for it looks incredible.
It does. It looks really good.
And there was something else.
The other two you might care about. The other two you might care about is Dead Space 3. That might come out.
Yeah, kind of. I have to play Dead Space 2 first.
Gotcha. And Star Wars 1313 was announced last night.
Yeah, I got that PR.
Yeah, the mature Star Wars game. 13.
What does that mean? Can you tell me what is that? Is it first off how is it played? Is it first person?
Luke
is it
gets
like
nude.
We don't know.
Only
go
under the
everywhere.
helmet with Darth.
I don't know. So those 13.
Oh, is nudity in it? I'm there. Don't even care.
I can't top that now. Anyway, so 1313 is a reference, as far as we can tell, is to what was it? Fett, bounty hunter, Boba Fett.
Oh, I see.
Boba Fett.
I don't remember the first name.
Wow, Rob.
We're live on networks.
All of this makes me really tired. I have to say, like,
makes me want to play the great new Lucasfilm game 1313, starring Boba Fett.
Super nerdy inside Star Wars games are like.
Okay, you know what? Hold on.
Is there an element of this where I have to like deal cards? Because that's what all that sounds like to me.
I hate to cut this short, but we haven't taken any calls
They were just
I
asking
just
about
read-
it in the chat, and I was
Okay.
saying that we have so many latency issues with you. We can try.
Are there any topics that we haven't covered that we need to cover?
I don't.
No, not really. The last thing the last thing on my list, is really lame. It's Facebook, but who cares?
Yeah.
By the way, Facebook
Wow.
stock's still not a good buy. That's
Let's take a call.
a
see what
call. All
happens.
right, put it up.
I don't know. Like, what should we do? And what do we talk? What's the topic? Just wild card, whatever you want to talk
wild
about.
card, ladies' choice.
Wild card, whatever you want to talk about. We'll take
That's what I
a
did.
couple of calls or something, and then I think
The
we have to
people in the
wrap,
chat are
'cause I have
asking me to talk about Here's the Goracle update. The judge ruled.
Ellison. Oh, Ellison. Wait, before you talk about that.
Yeah.
So can I just say something? Larry Ellison was on stage at D10. Now, I actually thought Larry Ellison, I think I've even talked about it on the Vergecast, that I thought he seemed like a kind of a creep.
Yeah.
He is so awesome. Okay? He's so funny.
So what?
funny.
Wait, what? Why the
He's
about
funny.
face?
Because he is like Tony Stark. I mean, he talks like Robert Downey Jr. Like, he's like just like cracking jokes left, right, and center, and they're like pretty funny jokes. Now, admittedly, I mean, from a business standpoint, I'm sure he's horrible.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's a terrible man. But as an interview, he is hilarious. And I was not aware and not prepared for that whatsoever. And there were other people in the room, like Dan Fromer was like, just like, he's amazing. Like, everybody was like, wow, Larry Ellison is really funny. Which is weird because the guy who runs like the data, the database
Oracle,
company doesn't seem very fun to me.
No, so I was flying back from. I'm getting echo again, hombres.
To me, my connection's fucked
Probably.
up.
I was flying back from LA I was in LA for a different reason, and the person next to me was an analyst, coming back from D, and I looked at. She was like taking notes, and she had written Larry Ellison. Like 3 exclamation points, and then wow, what a firecracker! And I was like, oh man, like, this is what analysts get paid to do. Like, why don't I get paid to do that?
You can. All you have to do is leave your job as a journalist.
I do. Yeah, it's true. I probably
Cross over. Just
Start making things up.
I'm calling
Start
Gartenberg
saying
tonight.
things.
Michael, I need a job. We've got an improved call here. Okay. You're blinking. It's the button on the right. Right?
checkbox. There's a checkbox you
And
push.
now there's 2 different rows there. It's where's it blinking? Yeah. Okay.
Line 3.
All right. Are we on the air? Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
What?
Am I on?
You're on. What's your name and what's your topic?
Okay.
What's your sign?
Ross.
Sorry.
Yeah, Damon, and I'm from Texas, Beaumont, Texas.
Hello.
Hello, you got me?
Are you
Hello?
Are you on AT&T?
Yes, I am. Go figure. Hold on. Yeah, I actually have to step outside.
We are stuck between 2 really bad connections right now.
Wow.
It's fine. Take your time. Take your time. We'll wait. No
Wow.
problem.
Hello.
Hello. I like
Not
this.
live on the air right now. Get into a good location where you can do a call.
Wow.
Guys,
Yo, what up?
I want to talk about copyright.
Okay. What's your name, first of all?
My name's Damon, and I'm from Beaumont, Texas.
Okay. I couldn't tell. Copyright. Go for it.
No, well, anyway, I, on Josh's kind of point, I mean, he's kind of talking about, well, the industry changing. And I kind of think, and he had brought this up at one point, how people need to kind of look at, we're getting everything cheap or free. And I think in some ways we kind of have to change the way that we view media, or, we kind of consider everything free. And I mean, so in some ways we have to change. Don't you?
No, wait, what? What do you mean we consider everything free?
Well, not free. I think that people now, we're so used to like free services, or, social networking is free, streaming is free in many ways. I mean,
Wait, how is streaming free? You pay for Netflix, you pay for Spotify.
I think he means like you're talking about like Hulu or YouTube or something where you have but you actually pay for that stuff through advertising. So that is not free stuff. It's being paid
it's not
for.
free, but we're wanting something very inexpensive, and I understand that, but I think in some ways we're kind of looking at in a socialized way. So we want everybody to be able to reach and have full access to everything, and we kind of don't want to have to pay for it, you know. But I think that's
we got to stop Obama. Is what you're saying. This is like Obama. Look. I hear what you're saying. There is I think there's something we need to look at in terms of who we are as members of society, and I'm speaking as a member of the U.S. society, that we may have to say to ourselves, everything is not going to be cheap or free, right? You have to pay for things, and I think we all are paying for things. I'll actually pay for a lot of things. But you're right. You know, you may not be like, we can't all drive the BMW, right? I think that's what you're getting at. Not everybody can drive the BMW. You're not going to always be able to watch every movie you want for free whenever you want it. That's one way to look at it. But there are a lot of people who don't think that things are supposed to be free, who can buy the BMW. And those people will spend money on things. And so I think you can balance it. You can have models that are ad-supported models. You can have models that are, you know, pay as you go or monthly payment models. You can have models that are pay per piece of content, and that can go in a wide range. But you know, if your solution is stop thinking you can watch so much TV, I don't think that's a real viable. I don't think people are gonna. That's not, well, first off, there's too much. I mean, I think part of what you're saying is people think they can have everything all the time for free, but there's also like a lot of crap, you know, and our filtering system
I don't think
bad, and
I don't think you solve the problem of media by reducing the amount of demand. I don't think you say this business is out of control and we have to figure out how to make money. Let's not figure out how to monetize all of this yawning demand for everything all the time, and let's just tell people to want less. Like that's generally a bad. Like Ford isn't like, oh my God, everybody wants a Mustang. We should tell them to not want.
Well, they can have campaign. You don't want
no,
this.
no, but no, they can have it.
The market rises.
Wait. Our caller is desperately trying to talk. What are you saying?
I mean, they can want it. I mean, if they want a Mustang, I mean, yeah, they can pay for it. You know, I mean, but you don't lower the price of the Mustang so somebody can pay for it, and it affects the value of the Mustang. You know, you don't change the Mustang so everybody can.
Actually, let me raise a point here. There was a time when most people couldn't buy a car, and they actually did lower the price of the Mustang. They learned to make cars in a more affordable way so more people could own them. They learned to make houses in a more affordable way so more people could own them. And in fact, almost in every part of our culture, they have figured out ways to make things for less money. In fact, if you wonder why your iPhone is made in China, part of the reason is because they figured out there's a way they could make them cheaper in other places so more people could own them. So what you're actually describing is not accurate. There are strata of things, right? But I'll tell you now, there are probably more people with a car, like per capita. I'll bet you there are more people with a car than there have ever been in the history. You know, if you look at grade on a curve here, or whatever it is you do in math to make that make sense. But
Josh Topolsky does math on the Vergecast.
But what I'm saying is, like, actually, this has happened everywhere. They have found ways to make things cheaper so more people can have them, and that's part of the problem. Now we're getting into like a scorched earth. Yeah. We need to have a nuclear conflagration.
Why does this happen every time you and I talk about copyright law? Have you noticed this?
Like a farm.
All right, we're gonna go buy a Mustang.
Hey, caller, we're gonna let you go because I've got another blinking checkbox here. But thank you for calling in.
Okay.
I mean, you're right. You know, everybody has to change at all times. I'm pushing this button.
It is thought-provoking.
Hi, this is our next call. What's your name and what's your wild card topic?
Hello, yes, this is George.
Hey, George. Where are you at?
Yes, my topic was, I heard you mention Facebook and how it went on IPO, and I was wondering if you think that would hurt their image, because basically a lot of people have been burned by it. I was wondering, what do you think about that?
I don't think the average person who uses Facebook cares about its share price.
Yeah, I mean, who's been burned by it? People who care about stocks. It's a very small number compared to like Facebook's actual populace.
Yeah, people with money.
People who want to buy Mustangs now have to buy 3 less.
I think Facebook's risk is not. I mean, there is a network effect or an echo effect of if people talk about it enough, like, hey, what's going on with Facebook? Maybe something's wrong with their business. But most people aren't thinking about Facebook's business. I think what will hurt Facebook more is they had like an 80-minute outage the other day.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of thing that would be detrimental to Facebook. So, I feel like the stock thing, I think at the end of the day, it's going to level out. It's wherever it should be. I don't think it was unnaturally inflated. I don't think it was necessarily unnaturally deflated. I think it's in flux right now because it's brand new and there are a lot of questions that have yet to be answered. And I think at some point, it's going to flatten out and there won't be, right now everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to talk about, whether Zuckerberg can make it happen. Will Facebook be a tenable company? Are they going to survive? And that's what everybody talks about when there's a new
right. But Ben
that is rising.
Ben Popper did a really interesting report today about how the world is moving to mobile and the ad dollars that have traditionally funded the internet and all these services aren't going to mobile in the same way.
They haven't caught up. Like they're trying very
and that's
slowly.
Facebook's problem, and that sucks because
that is
like it sucks for Facebook because they got to figure out how to make money as people use the phone app. It might suck for us because if the answer is more intrusive advertising on mobile, that is the worst outcome I can possibly think of.
This actually touches on the last caller a little bit, but you're right that they need to get into a space where they can properly monetize mobile, right? Because a lot more people are using mobile devices to view this content, and right now they monetize through advertising, right? And that's how we monetize through advertising as well. The big question right now is how. And by the way, let's talk about industries being disrupted. The big question right now is how will the advertising industry adapt to this new world? I mean, they haven't really adapted that well to the web, and vice versa. The web hasn't adapted that well to advertising. The changing habits of TV viewers has been a real conundrum for the advertising industry. How do you adapt to that? They haven't figured that out yet. And print obviously is the same but shrinking. So it's a big challenge right now for people for these guys. They have to figure out, like, how do we advertise and make it worthwhile for the consumer, worthwhile for the property that we're advertising on, and worthwhile for the advertiser. And that's one that is they have yet to crack that nut fully. So
Right.
So Facebook is part of that. We're part of that. That's something that any ad-supported model is part of. And by the way, we're all convinced that ad-supported models are the only way to do it, and there may be other ways to do it that we haven't figured out yet. If you want to go back to our disruption conversation, and I don't think it's a paywall either. But
Would you pay $2 a month to use Facebook on mobile?
$2?
Personally, no, I wouldn't pay to use Facebook. But the question is for me also is like whether the advertising model is actually going to be effective, because a lot of there's been a lot of news whether if it's really effective on a grand scale like that.
Well,
I think so. The bigger question is advertising online as effective as advertising was on television? Because that's or in print, and that's where we're coming from. And I think the answer that we're discovering is that it isn't. Is that people are more numb to it. People are less interested in it. They're not as often forced to watch it or see it. So that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. And that really makes the incentive for the advertising to become kind of more insidious, right? I mean, there's more advertorial online than there ever has been before. There was the FTC, but the FTC a few years ago had cracked down on mommy bloggers, all these moms, because they didn't know that they weren't allowed to take free junkets, or they shouldn't be allowed to take free junkets and then write about it in a way that affected the product. There's all this stuff going on.
I don't believe advertorial is a sustainable model. I think advertorial is a move of desperation on advertisers' parts. I think that it's a stopgap, not desperation. I just think it's a stopgap. I don't think that's where we're going. Hey, I'm reading an article, but it's not an article. And also we're just talking about in journalism, but this goes across everything. It's TV and movies and everywhere else. And I think there's some really clever stuff going on in advertising right now. Some of the product placement that 30 Rock did, and some of the movie placement stuff, and integrating in ways that are not deceptive, but actually like quite clever, I think is getting good in some areas.
Right.
All right. Caller, anything else? Do you want to take another one, Josh? Do you want to? Thanks, man.
I think we should wrap up. I think I haven't eaten anything today, and so
Okay.
if I don't eat soon, I'm going to die. That's how we end all Vergecasts, by the way, right? With me saying I'm starving.
How do
I don't take care of myself very.
Did you take another call just now?
I don't know what I did. Now there's a lock icon on the line.
Is there someone listening in? Hello.
I have literally no idea.
Are you listening?
That work? All right.
This modern technology confuses me.
Yeah.
All right. Josh, you want to take us? Oh, Goracle. Can I just say what happened in Goracle real quick? Because they're asking me. Judge ruled API is not copyrightable unless so Oracle lost basically at every level of this case.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure they're going to appeal, and the appeals court will have something to say. But the judge, who is a programmer himself, said a list of instructions is not copyrightable unless the steps that are taken after the instructions are issued are the same. So I can say, go bake me a loaf of bread, and you can tell Josh the same thing, and it's not copyright infringement unless you carry out the same steps. That's
Pretty
the Goracle.
excited
So Google won this thing running away, basically. You're probably just excited about bread because you're hungry.
Yeah, you really had to use the food metaphor on him.
I have to say, your analogy was a huge mistake. And I'm very.
Dude, metaphors.
And
do it.
now,
Anyway, yeah. So Google won running away, but it will. I don't think Larry Ellison's going to not appeal. So
they asked. Kara asked him. He was like, "Well, we won. We had an injunction against whatever." And then he was like, he couldn't really talk about it.
Yeah. Anyway, so
All right.
big win for Android. That I didn't put it on the topic list because it's like they won. It's great. We all kind of knew that they would. Okay, Josh, you want to take us home?
All right. Are we done?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's our Vergecast for the week. If you'd like to get in touch with us, I really like smarmy look on my face. Well, that's the Vergecast for the week. I don't mind telling you, idiot. No, that is our Vergecast for the week. And of course, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at vergecast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment on the post when it goes up, which we love. And you can also find us on Twitter. Verge is @Verge. Nilay is Reckless. Ross is Oh No Roscoe, no E on the end. And I'm Joshua Topolsky. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Are we going to be in person?
I believe so.
I don't know.
Where are you going?
What would the date? Well,
I'll have
may
Paul
or may
with me
not
at E3.
be back. Maybe
Well,
we'll
then
do
you guys
something
should just
special.
all do it at E3.
Could do that.
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
I can't think about this. I'm so hungry. My brain can't process this. Anyhow, we'll be back in some capacity next week. Probably at our regular time, maybe
Thursday.
hopefully
Thursday.
4:30.
on Thursday. Yeah. And until then, I wish you and yours the very best for the coming days and weeks ahead.
Rock and roll. Paul.
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 Oh.
Ross.